So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm about 95% pancake at the moment. It's Pancake Tuesday here in Ireland. I don't know if do other places in the world celebrate Pancake Tuesday other than just here in Ireland and the UK. I don't know if you do, but if you do,
I saw a load of people in the UK sharing their pancakes today. So obviously they do.
Well, I know they do in the UK. I think maybe in the States it might be called Fat Tuesday. That just after springing into the back of my head. I think there is a thing called Fat Tuesday in the States, which is it's Pancake Tuesday. It's just another name for it. But I couldn't be sure. If somebody wants to put me straight on that. But God, if I had to have a DNA test at the moment, 95% of it would come up eggs, flour, and milk. I think they'd be my descendants. I'd be half a descendant of a chicken. I think at this stage I've so many pancakes eaten, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm feeling a bit the same way myself, but when I finished my pancakes, I sat down and watched a wonderful spectacle of a Champions League game. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was actually. That was a great game. Yeah, well, it was just a good game of football to watch. I enjoyed the best part of it, but you know what? I missed the first half. Because we were watching, I was watching. I don't watch TV shows when they're out.
British Bake Off or something, is it?
No. So I don't watch TV shows when they're like actually probably. I think Peaky Blinders is the last show I watched actually live when it was on. So I've gotten into Happy Valley. Have you ever watched Happy Valley?
I watched all the Netflix episodes. I haven't watched the BBC one yet.
Is it on Netflix? I'll go away.
It was. But there's the episodes that are out at the moment. They're on BBC. I think I haven't watched them once, but it's very enjoyable. That one, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, watched got the first two series. I haven't seen the third series, but that's what I was watching the last episode of the second series. So that's what kept me from watching the first half. But I found the second half very enjoyable. So there's a little bit of an insight there. We're filled full of pancakes, and I'm getting stuck into Happy Valley at the moment. Anybody got anything else that's good to watch on TV? Let me know in the comments below as well. But there's a couple of comments actually before we get into it, Paddy. In Greece, they don't celebrate Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday, or Fat Tuesday in Greece at the moment. But Lee says it's Shrove Tuesday. Yes, Shrove Tuesday. Aston Villa fan says Shrove Tuesday as well is there. David Miller, I like this. He wants it to be Pancake Saturday when we steamroll the Toffees. We will actually be coming with a preview of the Everton game as well, one of the nights as well. So and Aston Villa fan asking about what's this Happy Valley? Is it like no, it's not like
nothing like
it. It's nothing like it. Happy Valley is like it's a cop drama, put it that way. It's but it's not like Peaky Blinders at all.
Nothing like it at all.
Nothing like it whatsoever. But it is a good watch. So look, listen, guys, wanted to pop on because after the game on Saturday, I just kind of came on and I just did my own ramblings. But Paddy was obviously at the game, and I wanted to get him on to see what the crack was, what the atmosphere was like in the stadium, what his views were being at the match, and so on and so forth. And that's really it. Like, Paddy, I was just about to ask you where were you sitting, but you're sitting in your fucking normal seat that you always sit in the whole end. But what I suppose let's start off with that first. Like, what was the atmosphere on the ground like? What was it? Because for all intents and purposes, and from the game was there for the taking for Aston Villa. And even watching it in TV, even though Arsenal did own the ball an awful lot more. But what was the atmosphere like at this time?
I have to say, and I don't know whether others would agree with me or not, but I think it was singly the best atmosphere since we returned to the Premier League.
Really?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wasn't expecting it with a 12:30 kickoff, But of course, we started so quickly out of the blocks and scored the goal. I just thought, wow! I walked down. We were late going in because we met so many people, and Kevin Hunter came from Boston for the game, and we met him for a drink beforehand, and we took a picture outside, and I could hear the players coming out in the picture. I was like, get us into the stadium. So we were literally walking to our seats when the match kicked off, and the noise I just thought was incredible. And it kept going. There was plenty of singing. There was plenty of getting behind the team. I thought the Arsenal fans were great as well. They added to the atmosphere. And of course, the 4 goals within the 90 minutes obviously adds to the atmosphere as well. Without someone being out of sight. And yeah, look, it's I couldn't fault a lot of things about Saturday. There's a few rants coming later on, but definitely the atmosphere was, I felt, the best since we returned to the Premier League. Now, I wasn't there the night we beat Everton, our first win back in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, that was the best one, and that's fair enough. The one we beat Newcastle when Danny Ings scored that goal, that was pretty good as well. Danny Ings,
yeah.
that's it, yeah. So look, that's just my opinion. I thought the fans were excellent. We got really behind the team. Plenty of singing, plenty of shouting, plenty of giving out, plenty of names called to Simon Hooper, and yeah, all good.
Let's start with Simon Hooper, Paddy, before we get on to the actual teams, because I didn't go into it too much on Saturday, but I suppose looking back at the game and seeing, like, obviously we went into the key elements. Obviously, the Saka should have probably been, well, not probably, he should not have been on the field. But I didn't go into too much more detail to do with Simon Hooper. What was your feelings on Simon Hooper?
Well, the one thing look, it was hard to see from where I was on Saturday, but obviously I've seen back that replay of the challenge, and for me that's a red card all day long. All day long. Maybe if my biggest issue is Arteta coming out during the week and flippantly saying we want our 2 points back. Well, you fucking got your 2 points back, and you got it back by putting these arrogant pricks, which is the only way I can fucking describe them, putting them on the back foot, and they decided not to send him off. There's no question in my mind that Simon Hooper said to his assistant, who was standing looking at this 5 yards away. Now, referees have a habit of doing this. This is a pressure game. You just run the line. You put up the flag for offsides. You put it up for ball going out of play, and I'll do everything else. Referees do that. I know they do that. So that's what I think happened on Saturday. The linesmen were told, let me do my job. VAR will pick up anything I really miss. And VAR didn't pick that up. And the reason VAR did not pick that up is Arteta's fault. Nobody else's other than Arteta and PGMOL, who he put under pressure. So he got his 2 points back. And we'll get to another one, which I thought was even worse later on, in giving him his 2 points back. So that is my view of what happened in that challenge with Saka. And don't even get me started on Saka diving and Nketiah diving, because it's an absolute disgrace.
Nketiah's dive, I did bring that up, I think, from memory. I did bring that up. Like, if you were to draw out a scenario of like, if you were to get an actor to overact the role of simulating in a sitcom or a comedy or something like that, that's what they would have done. That flop on the floor is what they would have done. That's when you pull out your card and you go, Eddie, up. Stop acting the maggot. There's the other card.
And they definitely weren't going on Saturday because they're afraid of their lives of those big boys. And he undoubtedly put those referees under savage pressure not to give those decisions at the weekend. Fair enough if they were robbed last week. We're told all the time, oh, your Villa, you're always giving out about it. It comes and it goes. It doesn't. It doesn't. Not against the big six. And to be fair, most of the people that say these things are fans of the big six. They just don't get that this doesn't come around again for Aston Villa. It's very rare that we cut a break. And then they all go back to but the ball went over the line of Sheffield United. That was nothing got to do with it. That was a technology failure. It was nothing got to do with it. So these things don't come around and go around. They're just given to you.
Yeah, I'll accept the Sheffield United thing the next time I see somebody turn around and say, actually, I dived. Actually, I didn't score that goal. Actually, he didn't punch me. Actually, I wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. What do you expect? Because it's Aston Villa, you expect him to turn and go, actually, do you know what? He was behind the line. He was behind the line. No, it's your job as a referee to be able to spot that stuff. It's your job as a linesman to be able to spot that stuff. It's VAR's job to be able to spot that stuff. It's Hawkeye's job to be working on the day. And
they could do
nothing
about it because Hawkeye wasn't working. That's all.
Yeah, and when we go back to that, it's just that when you mentioned that, it's a paper tiger. It's a false argument. It's a straw man, whatever you want to call it. That's what that is. But the dive is that I didn't even think of. Look, it wouldn't have made much, if any, or any of a difference. But I think, Paddy, and it will be construed. I know that there will be Arsenal fans that will probably watch this. They'll probably see the headline on it, and they'll watch it to see what we're saying. And they go, "We're bitching in the morning." But we talk about this the whole time, that I don't care what happens in the game as long as the laws are are implemented fairly. If it's against Aston Villa, it's against Aston Villa. If it's against Arsenal, it's against Arsenal. But what happens is that I can guarantee you, if Ollie Watkins does that dive, there's a yellow card coming his way.
Yeah,
it just happens. Like, it was that blatant that it was that it was yellow card. And I'm not saying it would have changed the game. It obviously wouldn't. I just don't understand why, when it's that blatant, you give somebody this, you give somebody the benefit of the doubt, whereas regardless of where it is in the field. Anyway, that's beside the point. That's beside the point. I presume
nobody's gonna convince me that there's any fair play within this league. You saw the challenge. I don't know what the new fella from Man United's name is that caught the fella around the knee.
Schmitz. That was yeah.
And not only should the referee have seen that in real time, they did absolutely nothing about it looking at VAR. So the whole thing is an absolute farce.
It had another nightmare this weekend, didn't it, VAR?
Yeah, and there was one comment there, this one, from Andy. We have to be stronger and influence the refs. We're too nice. Now, bear in mind that we'll get to this later on, but Emery came out and basically gave out about one of our players. If he's going to call out our players, he needs to be calling out these celebrities and their shit decisions. I don't care what anyone says. We need to act like the big boys in order to play at the big boys table. So I totally agree with that comment. We are too nice. We let them away with murder. There'll be nobody writing to us next week to say, sorry about that. We'll give you back your 2 points next week, which is more or less what they did to Arsenal.
So and look, and to be honest, that was an egregious error that VAR made in the Arsenal game. Now, it was an egregious error. That goal should have been ruled off. It was an offside goal. Whether they would have still drawn that game or won that game, or what the result would have been, is completely immaterial. It's like the Sheffield United thing. It's like, and that's why I was delighted you brought up the Sheffield United piece. It's like the Sheffield United thing with us. Who knows what way that game would have finished, even if that was given as a goal. Yeah. So from that point of view, I think that, I agree with Natalie Sawyer when she came out and she said that it was a small bit arrogant of Arteta to say, oh, well, that's definitely a reason why we lost 2 points. You're not guaranteed anything, and I agree with from that point of view. And that's kind of where I'm going at. But VAR was 100% wrong. It was 100% wrong in that aspect. And it doesn't do itself any favors, is what I'll say. It doesn't do itself any favors. And I suppose, Paddy, we might as well get to the elephant in the room. And I'm not as, how am I going to put this? I'm not as up on my high horse about this, about the third goal that Arsenal scored. But I can understand, once again, Paddy, that rules are rules. And if you look at the rules, them's the rules.
A referee would stop you there and say, no, they're not rules, they're laws. Because that's what they say when they want to tell you that they know more than you.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah. Look, what the rules mean, we just talked about the Man United one. Should have been seen in real time. They have got this VAR completely wrong. We watched Liverpool and Real Madrid there. You saw the second half.
Yeah.
Did you see the challenge at the end and Salah went down? Did you see how quick VAR turned that around? Referee puts up his hand, stops the throw in. He had barely put up his hand. He took it down again and went, come on. That's the way VAR needs to be. One look at a replay. No, simulation, keep going. So they didn't even show the replay in the end because it was so close to the end of the game. But look, all of this absolute shit show that if I don't know why the other 14 clubs within the Premier League have not come together and go, hang on, this needs to be disbanded. Change needs to come from the top down. Mike Riley stepped down. They brought in Howard Webb. It's got worse. It's got worse since Howard Webb came in.
It's certainly not had a good 3 weeks anyway, that's for sure.
Well, the last 2 weeks especially, I think, has been an absolute farce.
Probably been the worst. Yeah, probably been the worst for VAR, I think.
Yeah. And look, I'm similar to you. I'm not totally enraged over this goal. And the reason is because I had a horrible week the week before after the Man City game. It really turned me off football. I thought it was an absolute vile atmosphere at that game. I thought they were disgraceful, their carry on. And then you go to this week and you get the exact same thing out of Arsenal. The reason I'm not, sorry, I'm going around in circles here, but the reason I'm not totally pissed off is that we got 90 minutes of really giving them a rattle before. Well, other than the Saka red card before we were undone by a goal which shouldn't have stood. And that's why I'm not so pissed off.
And look, yeah, I think there's by letter of the law, we've seen all those posts on Twitter. Those two players were in an offside position. They were in the eye line. Yeah. I did see some funny rebuttals from Arsenal fans saying, but the Aston Villa players are in his eye line as well. That negates the fact that the Arsenal players are in his eye line. That means that they cancel each other out, and therefore the law. And you're kind of going, come on, like all you have to do is open up the rules and read the rules. Like that's all you got to do. You can't make up your own rules, for God's sake. And look, once again, I don't think Emi Martinez gets within an ass's roar of the shot anyway. If the guys aren't there, I just think it was a good bad shot, if that makes sense. As in, yes, it came off the crossbar, so therefore, as we know, crossbar means it's off target, and it just comes down and hits him. And I don't think he gets to it if those guys aren't there. But still, once again, Paddy, the laws are that if the guys are there and impacting his vision, VAR should take a look at it and make a determination on it. And
law number 6, apparently, attacker in an offside position is obstructing the goalkeeper's line of vision. He must be penalised because he prevents the opponent from playing the ball to the best of their ability. Blah blah blah. There's a diagram in law number 6 in the referee's handbook, but our guys didn't read it.
Diavolo as well. Whether he saves it or not is beside the point. I completely understand. Yeah, and I agree with that as well. The law
offside is offside.
Offside is offside. The law is the law.
He shouldn't have had to dive for it because they were offside. They were in his way. It's painful. It's a painful one to take, but it's not the worst decision we've had against us since we came back into the Premier League. There has definitely been worse. Tough one, but I can draw a line under it just because you just got to call it out for what it is. We know that coming onto a podcast and giving out about it is not going to get us anywhere.
No. With this, and as I say,
we need the club to stand up for us as fans and go, our fans deserve better than this. Give us our 2 points next week at Goodison Park. No, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and that's what PGMOL did this week. They made 2 wrongs to give a right to Arsenal. That's not me cribbing. That's the fucking facts. That's exactly what happened. 100%. And I guarantee you, if that's at the other end when Bailey is taking that shot that hits the bar eventually, and there's fellas standing in front of him.
I agree, and I don't know, Adam, and a couple of other people there. I just want to make this clear as well. At the start of the show, we said the ref didn't affect the game. The dive wasn't an effect of the game. The Saka red card. I think he was pretty ineffectual afterwards. He limped around the field because Moreno got his back on him, actually Moreno got
Yeah.
him beforehand.
And
And
I think
I think the third goal.
Adam says we didn't deserve to win anyway.
I don't think anyone ever said I don't
Yeah.
think we deserve to win. I think probably we could have
But that's
snatched the draw.
irrelevant. It's winning when you don't deserve to win makes it even more special. So you can't just say you don't deserve to win. Whoever scores the most amount of goals wins. Whether you have 90% possession or 9,
but
and you win.
I don't think we deserve to win, but I do think that if we could have come away with a draw and said that is a real gutsy draw out of it, and that's a nice way to. And we're not sticking on you, Adam. There, so I hope you don't feel that way. It's just
it could have been a completely. It could have been a completely different ball game if Odegaard puts away that chance that Conza.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, there's loads of ways of looking at this, and
Nketiah doesn't hit the bar with his header, and Gabriel doesn't miss that header in the middle of the box.
They had plenty of chances which they didn't take. This one was 100%. Gifted. This one was gifted to them, and we are doing everybody a disservice by not highlighting that. Every other podcast, I'm sure, is exactly the same.
Yeah, I think so too. Getting on to some of the play from Aston Villa, Paddy, because look, that was probably the other talking point. In fits and starts, we played some unbelievable football. That second goal is one of the silkiest goals you'd see all weekend. Everything went right. Did Forest deserve to draw? No.
You know, I think that just proves a point. You know, anyway.
Man City owned the ball in that game. Getting on to the Aston Villa play, as I say, that second goal was absolutely fantastic. 10 passes, worked it all the way up through the field. Intermediate passes, lovely silky slide rule passes, around the corner passes, dummies, the whole lot. It had everything. And then for Philippe Coutinho, I think every Aston Villa fan had a kind of a sigh of relief to see Philippe Coutinho put the ball in the back of the net, because as much and all as we've lamented that it hasn't really worked out for him this season, specifically in an Aston Villa shirt, we kind of need him to pull up good because of who he is and what we know he can do. And I thought that he was pretty impressive at the weekend. I thought he got around the field, and I was delighted to see him get his goal. But what did it look like when he was on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he puts the fear of God in the opposition. They certainly do, you know, change their game to suit him. The one thing I will say with that goal, and I must say it's one of the greatest goals you'll see as a team effort, is where did the goal come from? What did it start from, Neil? What was the opening pass in that move?
Jesus, you put me on the spot. No, I can't remember.
It was a goal kick.
I just remember.
It was a goal kick.
It was, yeah.
Played into the midfield. It wasn't quite 10 passes. I counted 6, so I watched the back to count 6. It went through six different people and back of the net. That is why we take short goal kicks now. That's where the game has got to. That's what we're trying to do on a weekly basis by taking a short free kick. It doesn't always work. They very rarely score from a short kick out, but I just wanted to highlight that point after a couple of weeks of, you know, mistakes, let's call them. That's just to highlight that's why teams are passing the ball out from the back. It's to try and not give the ball away. And let's face it, we did give the ball away quite a bit from goal kicks as well. So I just wanted to highlight that point. But I just thought the move itself was incredible. Absolutely incredible movement.
And we've been threatening to score a goal like that for a while since Emery's come in. I'm delighted to see us do it. I'm also delighted with our first goal as well, Paddy, because this is a more Emery-like goal than like at Villarreal. It's a more Emery at Villarreal type goal, should I say? You know, the ball comes out to Matty Cash robs the ball off somebody, thunders into midfield with it. I must say it was an absolutely brilliant ball that he plays over the top.
It was a Messi-like pass.
It was brilliant.
Had done it, they'd have rolling back to have a look at it again and again and again. It was an incredible pass.
It was an incredible pass, well taken down by Watkins, and Watkins with a superb finish. Now, Matty Cash may not have done an awful lot in the game after he did that, and that's a fair, like, both things can be true, but that pass was absolutely fantastic. And Ollie Watkins, 4-4, going to be the first Aston Villa striker in Premier League era to score 5-5, I think, which would be amazing. He's
from the penalty spot.
Which one?
We're due a penalty. We'll get one
We're
on
due a
Saturday to
He's
even
not
up the fact that they robbed us this week.
Paddy, he's not taking penalties. You mad? That's going to be Philippe Coutinho is going to take a penalty if we have it for sure. But I think that was another really really well worked goal. And then I also want to talk about the Bailey one that came off the crossbar. Great save from Ramsdale off the crossbar. But I want to like he only got 10-15 minutes. Did some infuriating things, and I think it's just a case where we're going to see him do things where he's going to run into a defender and hit the ground and look for a free and have people out of position, and that's infuriating. But he took that ball out of the sky brilliantly on the sideline, and if he can get at least those sparkles back into his game, because he took that ball and he absolutely hammered the Arsenal defender on the outside for pace. Got into the box and just literally didn't think about it. Didn't Ollie Watkins, what Ollie Watkins has been doing for the last couple of weeks, didn't think about it, just put his laces through it. And Ramsdale gets a finger to it and hits off the crossbar. 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, we're below and we're seeing a ball hit the crossbar, hit our goalkeeper and go into the back of the net. And it's those margins when you're not expected to beat a team. And we weren't expected to beat a team. It's those margins that kind of are hard to take at times. But talk to me about, I suppose, about what I'm trying to get at here as well is the substitutions, Paddy. Did you feel that there was a kind of a drop off when the subs came on, or how did it seem in the stadium?
Someone said that to me yesterday, and I honestly don't like. Obviously, it was going to be a bit disjointed. There were so many of them, and some of them weren't needed. I didn't think Ollie Watkins deserved to be taken off, but I think he felt he had to put Duran in there. I thought that was of them all. I thought that was the strangest one to make. Other than that, I can't complain. No, I didn't notice any drop off in. Now there was a lull. There's always a lull because once a team makes a change, you always see that little bit of a standoff to let them see what way they're going to shape up after that. But it was very short lived, the lull, because it was a great game to watch. If I was a neutral sitting in that stadium, I'd be very happy with the entertainment value I got for what I paid for my ticket.
I think personally, there was a level of difference, I think, when Douglas Luiz went off and then Donker came on. Just from a nimbleness in midfield, we got more stout, we got more height in there, but we didn't have the fleet of foot in there. And just watching it on TV, you could kind of see more pockets of space open up. You could see we gave away a lot more kind of ground and a lot more possession on the edge of our box than we did when Douglas Luiz was there. Yes, we gained a bit more height for defending corners, but what they did was they started to go short with their corners, so I think it was probably a net negative bringing him on. Now, once again, I'm not down on the player. I just think the way that the game transpired, if we had someone else that could have come in there, and I'm fully aware that, we didn't really have anyone else in the bench that could have come in and done that job there, save for Callum Chambers, who I think would have been even less nimble in that defensive field position. And for me, it probably highlights the need for somebody that can come in and come off the bench in that instance. But I think apart from that, I agree with you, Paddy. I think there was nice injection of pace with Leon Bailey, albeit you get the frustration. And I think John Duran, that's the guy I want to come to next. He just looks like a guy who just really loves playing football. When you look at his face, do you know what? There's a lot you can tell. And here comes the old man in the corner talking. But there's a lot you can tell by somebody's face. And there's a lot you can tell by, there's kind of a childish kind of exuberance in his face. You look at him and you go, he's only a teenager. And that. And when you watch him play football, he's a teenager that likes playing the game of football. And I think you can see that when he comes on the field, because he's all energy and he's not afraid to throw his body about there.
Yeah, absolute ball of energy. That's the only way I can describe it. I would like to see him start a game at some stage. I'm sure we'll get to that point very quickly, I would imagine, because we'll pick up injuries or suspensions or whatever. But I would like to see what he does from the start. I would like to see if he has that same burst of enthusiasm that we've seen many players come off the bench and do stuff like that and not be able to do it from the beginning. So, including Leon Bailey most weeks. But anyway, we'll get to that later on. But yes, totally agree. I like that's 2 weeks in a row I've seen him come off the bench and be exactly as effervescent as you are describing. So, probably made more of an impact, I thought, against Man City. But did he get? I think he got more time this weekend. Did he? Did he get a little bit more time? I'm trying
Yes,
to think.
I'm going
Yeah.
to say. I think he got about 20 minutes today, and I think he got maybe like something in the teens the last day. It wasn't much more though.
Mm,
I don't think it didn't seem like it anyway. I don't have
yeah.
anything else open here. I'm
Yeah, it
sitting
doesn't,
back.
doesn't matter anyway. But look, I thought the subs. If I was making the substitutions, it would have been Duran and not Bailey that come on first, and that's why I thought the Ollie Watkins one was a bit strange.
I'm going to take it away from Aston Villa at the moment. Hey, welcome to our pre-production meeting in the middle of a bloody podcast, everybody. I literally said to Paddy, going, I don't know, do I have the energy after all the pancakes? And I'm just out of talking about Aston Villa, but we're half an hour in. And there's been a bit of movement, I think, in within the Premier League, manager-wise. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because there's managers getting let go at the bottom of the table. And while it doesn't affect us from that point of view. You see guys like Javi Gracia is after coming in at Leeds today. Leeds are in a relegation battle. Sean Dyche, who we're going to see at the weekend, is after being brought in at Everton. Southampton still awaiting their new manager. Looked like it was going to be Jesse Marsh. They've been chasing him apparently for 7 years or something along those lines, and they couldn't agree to a deal with him because they were only willing to offer him 6 months. But what I wanted to bring up here is that teams are having to sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't when you go and you try and get that name that you think might be able to propel you on or might be that philosophy type manager. And what the question I'm going to ask here is that Aston Villa need to be commended. I think it's actually more of a statement than a question. I want to know, do you agree with this? Aston Villa have to be commended with the fact that they went out, they pulled the trigger. They got in a manager who reputationally is up there, and like he's up there with you name him in the world at the moment. As I've said before, he's definitely in top 10 managers in the world at the moment. And we didn't have to go around and try and find somebody to fight the fire at the end of the season, or a couple of more weeks on, like teams like Everton, I suppose, with the Sean Dyche one. You could say it's a fighting fire. He's getting some great results. Don't get me wrong. Will Javi Gracia coming back in after his time with Watford? Will he be able to come in and fight that fire with Leeds? I personally think it could work because he's got a good philosophy, but it's fraught with danger. And as I say, I think I'm very proud of Aston Villa for going away and getting Unai Emery. However long we keep him is the next question. But it kind of shows. It does it show a different level of ambition toward Everton and Leeds? Granted that this isn't having a dig at any of those fans, because I'm sure neither of those two names would have been the first names on the fans' lips. But does it show a different level of, I suppose, forward planning within the club?
Mm.
I
think it does.
Ask the question right.
I think I know what you're getting at. I think you're being a little bit disingenuous towards Sean Dyche, because I think he's an established Premier League manager who just happened to be out of work. The other ones I can totally agree with. I thought the Southampton one was hilarious. Oh, we've been chasing this guy for 5 or 6 years, but we only want to give him a 4-month contract. Get a fucking life,
Madness.
man. It's the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. And look, we went out and we showed ambition. Admittedly, we weren't in half the trouble that those guys are in. We were still a little bit clear of relegation, albeit we were going bloody nowhere under who we had. So, look, I have total trust in this manager. I alluded to the fact that he called out one of his players. That's fair enough. I'd like him to be a little bit stronger and call out the officials. If he feels hard done by, call out the officials. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about this manager. I think he is more than capable. And I think now that what have we got, 28 points, where I think staying up is going to be a little bit higher this year, judging by the amount of points people have on the board. So you could be looking at 38, 40 points to stay in this division. So that's another 4 wins for us. That's where we need to get to, and then sit back and go, right, where do we need to change this next year? Because I think we've missed opportunities since Christmas that would have pushed us into the higher half of it. I'm resigned to the fact that we're staying where we are now. We don't think we're going to go much lower. Definitely don't think we're going to go any higher. albeit with 5 or 6 games now that we could potentially get something out of. But I would like to see this manager now say to, I don't want to pinpoint, but just somebody, sorry, you're not going to be part of my plans next year. Let's get this fella in here and see how he does, whoever that is. If that's, for example, an Ashley Young for Matty Cash and say to Matty Cash, you're free to go in the summer. If that's a Robin Olsen, for heaven forbid, for Remy Martinez, which everybody seems to think is going to happen in the summer, so be it. Let him be the man who makes those decisions. If Leon Bailey is not in his plans for next year, if he's given ample opportunity now and he's not taking it, put John Duran in there, put Coutinho up there, put Buendia beside him like he did. There's loads of things we can do, loads of things to freshen it up, and I have faith in him to do that. I genuinely have, because there is going to be a huge sale of players here in the summer. This squad, if we look at this squad this time next year, I would imagine it's going to be unrecognisable.
I think I agree with what you said. 100%. I think it's going to be unrecognisable. I think that there's going to be at least 4 players that come in in the summer, and I think every single player that comes in during the summer will stake a claim for a first team position. And you know what I mean by that is there won't be any Ludwig Augustensons coming in, I don't think.
No.
There won't be any Robin Olsens coming in. There won't be any Leander Dunkers coming in.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is we padded out the squad an awful lot in the summer just gone. And while I'm not going to sit here and try and rewrite history and gaslight anyone, I fucking called for it. I was like, I think we need to have a better squad. And we did get a better squad, but we got a better squad for a completely different style of play, which turned out to be a red herring and a false dawn. Which you could see what at times what Gerrard wanted to do, but he wasn't able to implement it. We've got a completely different style of play from a different manager at the moment. And I think the one part I disagree with Paddy is I think he's already said to a lot of players, you're not in my plans. I think he said it. That's why Nakamba's at Luton. That's why Ings is at West Ham. That's why, Bednarak went back. That's why, I think it was ballsy to do that clear out in January, the more I think about it. But I think the kind of thought process was, look, we might as well do it now because we're going to be doing it in June anyway. And we will see at the end of the year whether it was right or whether it was wrong. I think, but what will also be like, I was saying as well in January, no matter what happened, Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins were going to be tied together for the next 6 months at least with regards to their performance. Now, Danny Ings obviously has been injured since he's gone to West Ham, but Ollie Watkins has gone to that level a small bit more. And that's what I'm kind of looking for. We get to 38 points or whatever as what's that, another 10 points. If we can, and 15 games to go, we should be getting there soon enough, I would imagine. We shouldn't be clinging on to get there, but we should get there at some stage easily. And then what I'm thinking is I'm looking for who's going to elevate their performance over that period of time.
I think by the time we play, is it Chelsea at the end of this run of games? I think we'll be on 40 points by then.
I hope we are, yes, as well.
Yeah. Well, it's what I'm not saying. I think we will. I would hope that we are.
It's an opportunity to
but we did say that directly after Christmas, and then we got completely derailed by losing to Stevenage and just lost our way. So, look, the performance at the weekend, while parts of it were unacceptable, there was unacceptable errors, there was silly things done. We didn't even mention the header back into traffic by Tyrone Mings. The mistake from Konza that we alluded to that gave the chance to Martin Odegaard. Those things need to be eradicated. And look, I'm not calling out these players. I'm just pinpointing that these ones happened. There was many. You mentioned one Bailey made. These things are going to happen left, right, and centre. It's when they start costing us, like what happened at the weekend. We didn't even mention Sinchenko's goal, which I think I could call out a few players, but I'd also like to call out the guy who's looking after our set pieces. Because if we can lose to Stevenage with a short corner like that, with them having a man extra, why in God's green earth are we doing that against Arsenal? So the errors are not just being made on the pitch, they're being made off the pitch as well, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that was fellas that just tuned out for that. They were just distraught. I don't know what the hell was going on, but to see their faces after that goal went in, they were devastated. So it was just like Stevenage 2.0. I thought that's what I got out of that corner. I was raging over that one.
I think that corner's nothing like Stevenage when you look at it again, because I think
Well, there was more people involved, obviously. But the point I'm making is
Zinchenko puts it in exactly the position he needs to put it in. I think it's just a good shot.
But we had too many people ball watching.
We pressed at 3 different levels. That's like we people get out in a diagonal, and now we didn't get. We could have got closer. Obviously, you can always get closer if you don't block the ball. You could have been closer. But I think that Zinchenko just literally arrows it into the
right. I would just have to ask the question: is what is our setup for a short corner? Because I don't even think they knew a short corner was going to be taken.
I agree, and I also have to ask, why is it gone out of vogue to not mark the posts? Like we see it, you see it every year. Headers at the back post every week. Headers at the back post. Things like that, messy ones that squirt out to the back. And look, I know it's very old school and it's very Sunday League to mark the post. But if you've John McGinn on the post there, that isn't the goal. It's that simple, Where are players going to aim for when they get the ball out at the edge of the area? They're going to aim for the fucking sides of the goals. They're not going to put it straight down the middle because there's going to be too many people there. So sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Mark the post.
Yeah, but if you go the old ways, then you're leaving extra man to go and head the ball. That's the philosophy why there's not people on the posts anymore. That's gone a long time now. At that level, it's gone a long time now.
I think you should, regardless, you should always ask Gary Neville as well. I think he said it recently. You should always have a defender on the front post because it allows your goalkeeper to go that far further back into the goals, or to allow him to be central within the goals. But look, we could be here till the cows come home, and I know that it's philosophical, and I know I'm wrong in saying it. I know that I know the reasons for it, but I'm saying there's always a way. There's always a way to figure it out. If you can put Emi Buendia marking fecking Dolph Lundgren or whatever his name is, that lad who played with Southampton and what's his name, Vestergaard. If you can put them marking each other at some stage and think that that's okay at the back post, well, then you can absolutely put someone at the front post and find some other marking system that you can have in there as well. But that's why we're not paid to do it. That's why there is somebody that's paid to do it.
There's a great point here from Rod. Would you like to read it?
Minority, I know, but I want Martinez and Coutinho here next season. I love them and detect no attitude issues at all. I love the two of them, and I want them here as well.
So do I.
I think that's the silent majority that actually want. I think for once there's a silent majority.
Yeah, they're afraid to say something because of it.
But no, I think I would like to have the two of them here. I think Emi Martinez is like if you put Emi Martinez up for sale in the morning, I would nearly say 17 teams in the Premier League ring you. Well, sorry, 16 other teams in the Premier League ring you. I would go so far as to say.
But like the moral of the story is Coutinho would have been gone in January if somebody could afford him. And Martinez will go in the summer if somebody can afford him and somebody needs him that can afford him.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're going to have the two of them there next year. Because who needs to spend 100 million? It's going to cost you 100 million to buy Emi Martinez now. I don't care what anybody says, unless the manager has a problem with him from the past that we don't know, and he decides, do you know what? I can get 50 million here. That'll do us. I have a goalkeeper who's 21 years of age in Spain that I think can do as good a job, if not better. Want to mention Ziyech played for the academy last night. I thought he was excellent. Just a by the way thing. Sinisalo is no slouch either.
I think, and you heard it here first. If Emi Martinez gets sold, and this is what worries me, is that Bayern Munich could be a team that could be in for him, but they don't spend cash, and I don't think that their fans would like a goalkeeper to be their highest transfer fee. Like I think something like their highest transfer fee is something like 30 million. we're going to want at least double and a half of that on
that?
top of it again. Bayern Munich.
They never spend that kind of money. The German teams
But
don't.
I think they're going to have to start spending it at some stage. But anyway, beside the point, I think that Une Simon, I think his name, I can't remember, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the guy from Bilbao, I think he's the guy that Una wants. And I think that if Emi Martinez goes, that Atletico Bilbao might be looking at maybe buying a bigger mattress to put all the money we'll be giving them for Nuka Williams and our goalkeeper underneath.
The problem is, where does he go? Who's going to spend that type of money?
Chelsea, Paddy.
I don't even think Chelsea need to spend that kind of money. They've two really good goalkeepers there. Absolutely.
Quivin Kelleher, literally, Quivin Kelleher is just like somebody is going to sign him and somebody's going to make great money out of it, or great business out of it. It's going to cost you 20 million to sign him off Liverpool's bench as well. But good call, rookie mistakes. I think Quivin Kelleher, we're really excited. The funny thing about it, Ireland have 3 really good goalkeepers at the moment. Gavin Bazzuno, Quivin Kelleher, and Mark Travers are three good goalkeepers at the moment. But and we've Evan Ferguson up front, and we've Nathan Collins at the back, and we've nothing in between. Everyone else that's good. Although saying that, we've a serious crop of under 17s, under 19s, and coming up. But yeah, we'll see how that transpires. Anyway,
the point I was making there, the only team I could see to spend that money on a goalkeeper is either PSG, who look like the owners are gone a bit cold on, PSG or Real Madrid, who always seem to pull these ones out of the bag. And at the moment, with Donnarumma and Thibaut Courtois, although he's a couple of brain farts tonight, they don't actually need him. Someone mentioned, was that AC or Inter that went up there?
Inter Milan, Handanovic and goals.
Yeah, I just don't think there's that kind of money in Serie A at the moment.
And both of them are well, they were supposed to be. Sorry, obviously the ground share at the San Siro, they're supposed to be building a ground between the two of them as well, but I think apparently both of them have fallen out. Now they're talking about building separate grounds again. So and I would like nothing more than to be a fly on the wall than within a Milanese boardroom bust up. I think it would be the most colourful thing I could ever see. So if anybody has any footage of a Milanese boardroom bust up, I would absolutely pay good money after bad to see it, because yeah, and I am a big AC Milan. I've always been. Back in the day, we used to get Italian football with James. What's his name? How come I'm forgetting his name? James, the guy, the baldy guy, the famous guy.
I know you're talking about. I can't remember his
name. Jeez. Anyway, we used to get that when we were really young. It used to be on a Monday night here in Ireland about 9:15, and I remember I used to watch it. And AC Milan, when they had Jean-Pierre Papin and Van Basten and Hullet and all those up front, they were just a magic team, and I've always kind of followed them since. So I've always had a soft spot for AC Milan, but I don't want them to take our goalkeeper. Yeah. James Richardson. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's that'll tell you. I'm going to blame that one on the fact that it's 10 to 11. I'm going to blame that one on the fact that it's 10 to 11.
Andy mentioned Spurs there in the comments. There's no way Spurs are spending 100 million on a goalkeeper.
If Spurs come, it's going to be 200 million. Levy, yeah.
Or 17 million plus. Who have they got? Galini?
No,
do a Jack Grealish on it. Yeah,
do a Jack Grealish on it. Yeah. Josh Onema and 2 million or something along those lines. That's what they'll offer. We're getting into the weeds of this one, Paddy. I think we're going to call it 48 minutes. Paddy, I said to you we'll get about 20 minutes as always at the start of the podcast, and you said we might get a bit more. I didn't feel like
one more thing before we go. I want to talk about the fact that Emi Martinez came up for the corner, because
sorry, go for it, chat.
I think people are reading a bit too much into it now. I was obviously in the stadium, and my son nudged me and went, "He's come over the corner," and I went, "Oh Jesus!" It was just, I hate seeing it. I don't know, and that's just my opinion. And obviously nothing came of it. They broke. Talk about Emi Martinez shithousery. Martinelli celebrating before he even kicked the ball over the line. I thought That was a bit taking the piss for me as well. The other guy who put him through, Vieira, is it celebrating his pass? Get over yourselves, lads, for fuck's sake. But it's the Martinez thing I wanted to talk about, because obviously Emery was caught on the spot. I think he spoke a little bit out of school, obviously having discussed it before, that anything like that would happen. Hasn't have we even played a cup game at Martinez in? We haven't. Sure we haven't, because we lost to Man United, then we lost to Stevenage, obviously, both with Robin Olsen. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So who knows if that was even ever discussed before. So I reserve judgment on there being an issue between Emery and Martinez until it's...
And I'm glad you brought that up, Paddy, because I had it written down on a piece of paper here, and I knocked a piece of paper off my desk, and I forgot to say it. I think Unai Emery's... I think that the language he used in that interview has been... I think the context he wanted to use it in, the context that he did use it in, I think there was a mismanagement of his level of English. That's because that's what I got from it. You could see he was frustrated. I think his body language was what brought people to put two and two together. I think he was asked the question. He just answered it honestly. He goes, I didn't really ask him. I didn't tell him to go up for it. I didn't tell him. I think when he talked about there's players out there that are doing things that I'm not telling them, I think that was a very direct answer, because it was the direct English that he knew, as opposed to being able to soften it up.
I think so.
And that's what I thought in the moment, and I don't think the two were associated. I think more the what he was talking about was people's positioning, because he mentioned that we lack positional discipline. We almost essentially what he wanted to say was at times we reverted to type, and we need to be a bit more disciplined with what we do. And I think 2 and 2 was put together with regards to that. Now it could be 100% wrong, obviously here, but he did. I think it all stemmed from he caught a frustrated man in that interview, and he did say, listen, I didn't tell him to go up there. He went up there on his own, and I think that's just honesty.
I don't think there was anything malicious in what he was saying. It was just like, no, I didn't tell him to do it. Next question, please. And they were trying to elaborate a bit more on it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But look, that I just wanted to say that. Did it bother me in the stadium at the time? Yes, because I didn't like that we do that in a league game, because I think there was every opportunity that if we had a good corner worked in set piece training, that we might actually fucking score from one. But that's obviously not the case, and we didn't score, and they scored at the other end. I would rather lose 4-2 and go for it and go 3-2, and so either way it didn't bother me too much.
In your head change man asked a question, and we might leave it on this one. He says, and thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate that. But would you like to see us making a big signing, like a 70 million plus on a player in the summer? And why do you think we haven't made a big, huge money signing? Paddy, if you don't mind, I'll take the start of this one, if you don't mind. Because reason I don't think we've made a big signing is because we can't afford it. We've got massively, and it's because I've said previously, I think this club have always come with the mindset of playing within the rules of financial fair play, and as we know, other clubs don't do it. I think we may see. I think we will see. Sorry, I'll start that again. I think we will see our transfer record broken this summer. I think we may see our transfer record broken more than once this summer. At the moment, our transfer record is 38 million, and that's including all the add-ons for Buendia. I think we will sign a player over that this summer. I don't know whether we'll go to the levels of 70 million plus just yet, because you have to build your revenues before you build your costs. And I think to answer your question as to why we haven't done that so far is what echoes in the back of my mind is the first year that we got promoted. It was actually just before the year started. Christian Purslow did a Q&A with the Supporters Trust, and he said that Bournemouth can go away and spend like drunken sailors because they've fulfilled their 3 years of financial fair play within the Premier League. And they did go and spend like drunken sailors when they only had 11,000 of a stadium. 11,600 or something is what their stadium can bring in. Plus, they had one of the lowest sponsorship deals within the Premier League. But what they were able to do is they were able to leverage money on the club based on them fulfilling financial fair play for the 3 years previous. So that's why I don't think we've spent that money. But I think that we can expect money to be spent this summer, and I think we can probably expect big money on one player anyway, for sure.
I can't argue with any of that. I think you're dead right. I think we will break the transfer window. I think we will spend close enough to 100 million on players this summer, but I think we will recoup some of that with what we're going to sell as well, or get off the wages. We could, in theory, recoup all that on Emmy Martinez if what the papers are trying to make everybody believe is true. So look, the summer is in again another new dawn. We just have to wait and see what comes. But I don't believe we're the kind of team that will ever spend 70 million on a player. Now, I understand that with inflation and the way
Never
the
say
football
never.
market is gone, that this will happen eventually. But I think in the medium term, I don't envisage us spending that kind of money on a player.
Never say never. West Ham have gone and spent massive money on a player, and Newcastle have gone and spent massive money on a player. So I won't ever say ever with regards to that. Before we go, Ian has said Jonathan David, and Nico Williams, but I want to bring up Jonathan David. He's absolutely killing it in the Uber Eats League One, as you have to refer to it, right? As you have to refer to it at the moment. But yes, I'm a big Jonathan David fan, and I don't know whether he could do it in the Premier League. I think he would be very good for Aston Villa, and obviously Nico Williams, I think, has great potential as well. So
And
if we did see the two of those come through the door, I think it would be an exciting pieces.
Adam says if we don't break the record a couple of times, we're wasting Emery. I don't think Emery is the kind of manager that will want to go mad, spend the money either, and leave that legacy behind me. This is a huge project for him as much as it is for us, and he needs to do it right. I think if he found the right person, they would have broke the transfer window in January, but he felt they were overinflated, so he never did it. And you've got to respect him for that. As much as I wanted us to push on and spend money, because how many times over the last 30 years now we look and going, come on, we push on, we can get one more, and then it didn't happen.
I agree. I would like us to spend money, but if we brought in 6 players and we only spent 40 million and we propelled us up the league, and there were the players that Unai Emery could get ticking within his team like he did with Villarreal. Remember, he's done it, spending money at Arsenal. If I'm not mistaken, he spent big money. Didn't he buy Nicolas Pepe? He bought a couple of more players like that. Some players didn't work out. Some players did work out. And then he obviously has done it on the shoestring with Villarreal. So obviously he was going to want to get the better players, and the better players cost more money. So it's different with Steven Gerrard. I always felt that he wanted to sign a player that cost a lot of money if he could. Whereas with Unai Emery, I think he's got the professorial kind of aura about him. Not aura about him, but he is that kind of professor of the game who will be able to work with. And don't get me wrong, I think we might see a player over the age of 30 come in the summer. I've said this before,
especially in a defensive position. Yeah.
Exactly, a central midfielder, a defensive midfielder, a central defender. I think we could see players over 30 come in there. And I'm here for the meltdown that's going to happen on Twitter when that happens, because it just will happen that we don't sign a 21-year-old that has, CA potential of 190 or whatever it is in Football Manager, because that's just what happens now. But look, as I say, we're going to sign some players. I can guarantee you, put your mortgage on the fact that we're going to sign some players in the summer.
Yeah. And as Rachel says there, smart spending rather than big spending. You can easily waste 100 million. Now, I'm not saying we wasted 100 million, but look at the money we spent on Jack Grealish's sale. It hasn't exactly knocked it out of the park for us.
No, one of them is gone. One of them is faltering, and one of them is finding.
The jury's still out, but he's getting there.
Yeah, finding his feet. Right, we're going to go.
I don't know what this strip club is Dean is talking about. Don't forget the Deadly Doug days, Paddy. Spend it like you're at a strip club. I've never been in one, so I don't know.
I don't know. The Deadly. No, it was travel agencies that Deadly Doug had back in the day. Deadly Doug, R.I.P. Anyway, it's 11 o'clock here in Ireland. We've rattled on for way too long. Thanks a million, everybody, for listening. Thanks a million, as always, for watching. I might ask just one little favor. If you did like this and you're not a subscriber, please hit the thumbs up button and click on subscribe as well. Also, even if you don't listen to podcasts, if you don't listen to the audio podcast, if you could subscribe on the audio platform as well, it's just one of those things I'll ask you to do. You don't even need to download the podcast if you don't. It's just to subscribe there as well. That would be really good for us. It really helps us out. But thanks so much to everybody for everything that you do for the podcast. We really appreciate it. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I've got new lights here in my podcasting boudoir, and I'm feeling like I'm $1 million. I'm kind of like Marilyn Monroe. Kind of got Marilyn Monroe vibes here at the moment. So if you've seen me checking myself out on the TV, that's what I've been doing. But thanks so much, everybody. I just wanted to put that one in there because it's pitch dark outside, and the lights are dazzling me here at the moment. But thanks, everybody, so much for all you do. We'll be back again maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday with a pre-match show. We'll be back with Team Sheet Tantrum and a post-match again on Saturday. Until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.